We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here is Reverend Martin.
New Life Institutional Baptist Church. We're located at 8916 South Main Street, and we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, pastored by my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Della F. Holiness. And you know, they always say when the Baptists and the Charismatics get together, or the Pentecostals, there's always going to be a shouting in the camp, and we are continuing our fellowship. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, and one service. And so shout out to all of the members and all of the viewers all over the country, around the world, down there in Dallas and in Fort Worth. We love you, and we thank God for you and for your continued care. All right. In as much as social justice is a very broad subject, we always try to narrow it down to the parameters of the environment, the ecology, and that's a twofold. Not only your impact on the environment, but the more directly the environment's impact on you. Dr. Adewale Choutman, who was the director of health there in Kentucky, said that your zip code, just the very fact of your zip code, can affect your health, and that is certainly has been true for most people, especially for our people, black people, here in our sojourn here in the United States of America, which is still an aspiration we have not attained to the United States as of yet. So in other words, if you live in another zip code, then you get a longer lifespan because you get better access to health care. Whereas if you live in one of the other zip codes just a few miles down the road, then your lifespan is probably cut off by 10 to 20 years because the health care you receive is not equal. I think I did a equality as opposed to fairness comparison last week. You can look at that offering again, where Lyndon Baines Johnson was saying that at his speech commencement speech that he gave at Howard University there in Washington, D.C., historically black college, that you cannot take a person who has been shackled and who has been treated bad for years, take the shackles off of them, whether it's a male or female, bring them up to the starting line of a race, and think that you have done justice by them, because you have not done justice. Yeah, the starting race, the lineup is fair, but there is too much built-in inequality in order to say that the race is going to be equitable. That's why social justice goes beyond fairness to change the structure and to change the system. I think I used the analogy that if, God forbid, a man married another woman, well, that woman is not going to be satisfied in his other wife's house, who has no doubt deceased, because every woman wants her own house. She wants, in other words, that's the systemic structure. She wants it built to her dimensions, to her custom, and to her desires. And so that's one of the things that you are always up against in America. You're living in someone else's house that has been customized for them, but not for you. And in order for you to make the house your home, then you're going to have to change the structure. And you may have to tear off some rooms. You may have to add some rooms. And the like, in order to say, well, now this is my home. I have made this house my home. And so that is what we're dealing with in America with the advent of systemic racism and structural racism, because it's another man's house, another woman's house, and you are trying to act as though you're going to make a home out of somebody else's house. It just ain't going to work that way, because the house don't fit you. And you're going to have to make the house, which means you're going to have to change the structural of the house in order for it to be something that you like. You may have to tear off the den and build a man cave, or tear off the man cave and build a big master bedroom with a big master bathroom. Most houses don't have bidets, speaking from the woman's point of view, and a woman's going to always want to put a bidet in a new house, her home, yes, because those are the way things are done now in the new world. Those things are a necessity. And so the bathroom positions, we'd have to add more, in other words, implements, appliances. And so one will move from the toilet to the bidet. God knows, I don't want to get into that too much now, but you get the point. If you're going to make a home out of that house, then that's what you're going to have. I remember my wife and I were getting the new copper piping some years ago. And of course, she's passed on now. But the gentleman who was in the bathroom doing the shower head, he said, "Now, your shower is low, and don't you want to get one of those showers above 6 feet?" I told him, "Look, this shower here fits me just fine because I live here now. Now, when the next person buys this house, and they can put that shower up above 6 feet. But right now, this height fits me just fine." You see what I'm saying? Structural racism, structural systemic changes that you have to make in order for the house to become your home. All right. And so with those thoughts in mind, you can see how if you are lining up in a race, and Usain Bolt and Allison Felix and a lot of other top Olympic runners are in the race, you ain't got no business in that race. You don't have what it takes to run that race. You don't have what it takes to win that race. They're gonna blow you out the box. And so that's where equity and equality comes in, because social justice means always changing the social structure and changing the systemic architecture so that things can run on a more normal footing. Be that as it may. Now, we need to talk about South Africa and the International Criminal Court of Justice. And South Africa has taken Israel to the court because of the ongoing apartheid and genocide that is occurring there in Gaza and in the West Bank. If there's anybody that knows what a Bantustan or a apartheid looks like, it is a South African. Desmond Tutu went to Israel, and he sadly shook his head, and several of the others, including the president of South Africa, and they all came away shaking their heads and saying that Israel has set up an apartheid system. They call it a democracy, but it's really an apartheid system because it only works for a Ashkenazi personality, Ashkenazi Jew, more particularly. And so the other people who are not that light-skinned, then they're being discriminated against, and the bombing and the erasure and the taking of properties that is occurring, and not only in Gaza but also in the West Bank. Remember, the West Bank, there's no Hamas in the West Bank, but yet Israel is taking those lands, those properties, intimidating those people, those residents after dark as well. So South Africa, based upon the genocide statutes, has rightly taken Israel before the International Criminal Court and charging them with genocide. In this case, genocide against the Palestinians. Israel and Netanyahu and a lot of the other fire eaters, extremists in his party, who are the pro-Zionists, have gone so far as to say that they're going to make Gaza a parking lot. So that means you're going to kill all the people, or remove all the people, or send all the people away. And of course, that is what they have been trying to do. Benjamin Netanyahu has announced to the people in Gaza that they need to leave Gaza and go out through the Rafah crossing. However, when the people, those that are willing to leave, essay to do that, then they find that the Rafah crossing is being bombed. Likewise. So, and who is doing the bombing? American jets, American planes, American bombs, American missiles, American tanks, American bulldozers. All of the assets that the Israelis are using were built or manufactured here in America. If it wasn't manufactured by General Dynamics, it was designed by Raytheon or some of the other munitions manufacturers. They're all happy because they're making money hand over fist, and it makes the current president of the United States, who is selling all of these munitions to Israel, and who funds Israel to the tune, I think now, of, it was $5 billion a year, but I think it's down to $3 billion a year in just general aid, and then the military munitions that come afterward. And so you got American engineers helping to repair the tanks and helping to guide the missiles and work with the radar and operate the drones. And so everything that is being done to the people in Gaza is being done in the name of the United States of America. And what makes Biden look weak is that he cannot tell Netanyahu to stop the bombing, or to stop the killing, or to stop the genocide. And Netanyahu has said that they're going to continue. And you can see where they're targeting the healthcare system. So it's the late Colin Powell said, you get the enemy, you destroy, you detect, and you delay, and you destroy the enemy's will to live in an area. So if you have bombed out all the hospitals, then that means there's no health care in Gaza. And if you have bombed all the refugee camps and you bombed all of the parks, places where people can try to go to get away from the bombing, and you have concentrated on those areas with your bombs, then yes, you have made the place uninhabitable. And that is why South Africa has taken Israel to the World Court, or the International Criminal Court of Justice. And I don't know if Israel is going to heed any such decision by the International Criminal Court, even though Israel is a signatory to the International Criminal Court of Justice. The United States, of course, is not such a signatory because it continues to sell munitions to Israel and anybody else in the world, including Ukraine, but never Sudan and never Yemen. But we are the largest arms munitions manufacturer in the world, and it's Joe Biden has stated it best. It's in our interest, our economic interest, for this war to continue, because after the bombs have been dropped and the bullets have been fired and the hospitals have been leveled and the refugee camps have been destroyed and the apartments become uninhabitable and people can't get health care and can't get medicine, then of course you have a crisis, a medical crisis, a healthcare crisis, because you got the elderly that depend on electricity to operate their breathing machines. You got the babies that have died because the electricity has been cut off for the incubators, and so that you're just creating a unlivable situation there in Gaza. And as we have noted, the Israelis under Benjamin Netanyahu have given the Gazans a mandate or a decree to vacate that land, that strip of land. I think it's 5 miles long and 20 miles. No, it's 20 miles wide, 20 miles long, and 5 miles wide. And it is one of the most inhabited places on the earth. Over 2 million Palestinians live in that little tight area. And I also remarked some time ago that when Russia was telling the people in Ukraine that they needed to move, then Joe Biden called that genocide. And he called the Russians criminals for relocating those populations. And when the Russians bombed the hospitals in Ukraine, then Joe Biden was quick again to label the action genocide and label Putin a war criminal. Well, now that Benjamin Netanyahu is doing the exact same thing, why isn't that likewise recognized by the United States as a genocide? The forced removal of population, the bombing of hospitals. If it's a war crime in Ukraine, then it should be a war crime in Israel. So in other words, if it's a war crime when the Russians do it, why isn't it a war crime when the Israelis do it? All right, so that's another reason why South Africa took the step to take the nation of Israel before the World Court, because they had tried to get a vote in the UN, and of course the United States, being a signatory to the UN Charter and on the permanent committee, no matter what the other 150 or so countries vote yes on if the United States has veto power. And that is what they have been exercising in the UN. Of course, they began to look, they being the United States, us being the United States, and vetoing ceasefires and vetoing a pause in the carnage, in the destruction, in the genocide. Were looking so bad that when it vetoed the just demands of the other 153 nations that were signatories to the resolution to cause, or petition rather, to cause a ceasefire, that rather than just keep looking so bad, the United States abstained from one of those votes in order that there might be an approach toward a pause, not a ceasefire. The United States would not sign on to a ceasefire because they say that the Israelis have a right to defend themselves by whatsoever means they may choose. And that is, of course, the United States get out of jail free card to keep from recognizing or acknowledging that what Israel is doing in Gaza is a genocide. It is a war crime. And because it would be bound to act if it recognized that Israel was committing a genocide. And so only South Africa had the nerve or the courage to take the nation of Israel before the World Court. Remember, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And any is the operative word. And sinful reproach is what Israel is doing, and it is also what the United States is doing. Because, like I said, all of the munitions that Israel is using, who do they get them from? Well, they get them from Big Papa, Uncle Sam. We are the largest munitions dealer in the world. Amen. And we must face those facts, and Biden must stop looking so weak against the nation of Israel. Here we are, the mightiest nation on the face of the earth, but we cower before Israel, and that is just so shameful for a mighty war power like us. And I don't know if any of you have looked at the back at 1967 when Israel bombed one of our ships, and the ship was flying the American flag, and it was showing all of its colors, but the Israelis claimed that they didn't recognize the ship, and so consequently they bombed the ship. You can't make this stuff up, folks. And Lyndon B. Johnson was president of the United States at that time, and he was getting ready for the re-election following the assassination. In other words, this was his term where he was finishing out excuse me, JFK's term, who had been assassinated in November 22nd, 1963. So this was in 1967. And Johnson was thinking about getting another term, running for another term, which he was eligible to do. But the Israelis, after they had bombed the American ship, even though the American ship was flying the American flag and showing all the identification that you can have for a ship, the Israelis still continued to bombard it. They were trying to I was trying to find that article here while I was talking to you. Okay. All right, let me put this in here. The Liberty ship. I'm trying to get the name of that ship. All right. But be that as it may, what was done to that ship, and then the cover-up after the five? All right. After the Israelis had been found out, they managed to get to Lyndon Baines Johnson and tell him that if he reported to the world that Israel had bombed the United States ship, that they would accuse him of blood libel, which was a very serious charge to be charged with by the Jewish people. And so what Lyndon Baines Johnson was obliged to do was slow motion the investigation and just finally put it to rest. And I think the captain of that ship was given the Medal of Honor, but he was not given it by Lyndon Baines Johnson. It was given rather surreptitiously by some lesser official. You know, the Medal of Honor is supposed to given to you by the President of the United States, but not in this case, because Israel was guilty of bombing an American ship. But their diplomats were able to twist Lyndon Baines Johnson's arm. You know, you got to be strong to twist Lyndon Baines Johnson's arm. But they twisted his arm enough to make him kill the investigation into this bombarding of this American ship. I think they killed over 100 of American sailors on that ship. And somehow from that, the Israelis have learned that the United States has a softness, an underlying weakness, and they tend to exploit that weakness at every opportunity that they can. So that is why Biden looks weak. He can't, you're spending all of this money, you're supplying all of these munitions and all of this billions of dollars at the beginning of every year, but you can't tell the man that you're giving it to, hold up, something is wrong there. And so these are the things that I see, and I trust that you see likewise. All right. So again, I say unto you, as I've always said, if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, don't waste your life, don't waste your time. Take my advice and don't work for them. All right, Doc, we out of here. Love you. Happy New Year.